Rise and shine, everybody. Good morning. It's Jeff Abramowitz here on Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. I am so excited to be here. And this is day 2 officially of Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. And I'm here on behalf of the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We had an amazing day 1. We're going to have an even better day 2. Yes, I'm wearing my yellow sunglasses because adult education is shining a light on the importance of adult ed in the country. And these glasses are the great idea of Dollar General, a sponsor of the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. I want to give them a big shout out. But truthfully, if I wear these for the entire show, I will not be able to see anything at all. So I'm going to take them off, but really excited about our guest today. And my name is Jeff Abramowitz. I'm your host for today. We are flooding the Hill with adult educators across the country that are going to be meeting with legislators and talking about how important adult education is in our country, and so many good things happening today. One, I want to just mention that our Flood the Hill is happening, and we have some great guests on today. I'm really excited about two just rock stars in the field of adult education. First, I'm going to start with Joel. Joel is the Executive Director of Ignite Career Foundation, and David Faubus-Kendrick is Director of Crawford County Adult Education Center. How are you both?
Great.
Great.
Good. It's good to see you. I know. So let's talk logistics so everybody kind of gets a little scene behind what's going on. So you guys are at this amazing breakfast happening at the Monocle Restaurant right by Capitol Hill right now. And I'm sorry that I'm not there. I'm actually at our remote podcasting venue, so we don't lose signal. And so you save me some breakfast. Will you do me a favor there? But tell me what's going on. Who's there this morning?
First, we started off with Senator Jack Reed. So he was just here, and I believe he's left.
Yep.
Good
and
deal.
Of course, we've been eating this morning.
Yes.
Of course, food is important. Food's important because we got a big day on the Hill.
Yeah, and fellowshipping and just getting our notes together for our big Flood the Hill.
Right. Yeah, lots of energy. Lots of energy. So
lots of energy going on there. So
yes.
Debbie, let's kick you off. You're the Director of Crawford County Adult Education Center. Tell us a little bit about the center and the work that you do.
Okay, I'm in Van Buren, Arkansas, which is in Crawford County. We serve approximately 1,000 students a year. We have all kinds of programs, ESL. We have a lot of workforce training, welding, wage, and we also serve the incarcerated population there 4 days a week. I'm so excited. We just finished 12 of ours. We put them through a flagger program. Who would have thought? You know, flaggers that are out on the road that can pay like $15 an hour. So we have 12 of our incarcerated individuals who just finished that. So we're hoping they're going to walk out into a job. Then we just started CDL also with our incarcerated gentlemen, and they're going to finish their tests. We're bringing a truck in. They'll do their walk around. Now they can't get their license, of course, until they get out, but they're going to be ready to roll as soon as they get out to finish that out. So we're really excited about that. And we do electrical. We're getting ready to partner with CNA. On our campus, we kind of take care of the whole person. We have a clothes closet. We have food available. We have a SNAP program. So we try to take care of the entire person. And we are on the same campus with our district court. And we serve all of our courts in the county.
So
that's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing stuff. So, you're hitting a sweet spot for me because I do a lot of work with men and women that are justice impacted and coming home and really giving them that career pathway is so important. But we often don't make the connection between adult literacy and adult education and helping people that have been formerly incarcerated coming home, navigating those challenges, both behind the walls and as they come home. Just tremendous work that you're doing. I absolutely love it. Joel, you're the Executive Director of Ignite Career Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and the work that you do?
Yes, certainly. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. So for the last 12 years, I've worked with adult English language learners, and I think it's important to say that. I started off at English for a Lifetime Language Institute back in 2012, and we've recently transitioned to the Ignite Career Foundation, where we have expanded the program now. And so, in addition to English language, in addition to our English language program, we're offering career certifications. We're offering career workforce readiness skills and also GED. And so we're really excited about that. Our primary population, Hispanic, Latino students in the Gwinnett County area of Georgia, Norcross specifically. And recently we've begun to diversify a lot. Well, actually since the pandemic. And so we've been enrolling students from Asia, Asian speaking countries, Africa, et cetera. And so the program is really beginning to expand, and we are just moving it forward. And
I
again,
love
so
it.
the primary focus has been English language learning, but and what's caused us, the big question was, well, after students master English as a second language, then what's next? And so we decided to launch other career certificate programs to upskill those students. So not only that they are able to speak in the language, but they have a skill set also that they can move forward into their desired workforce.
Yeah, that's so important. English language learners in our country are really they're kind of the backbone of becoming the backbone of our labor market and filling jobs that are really needed in our country. And you know that language gap often is a big challenge for many people that come into our country legally and that are working here and filling those jobs and those needs. And it's amazing the support that they get from not only their communities, but from agencies like yours that are really helping them find that career, the thing that they did in their home country, that they're coming here and they're sharing their talent and skills with us. It's kind of crazy. We're here this week, in particular for Adult Education Family Literacy Week, to really shine a light on the importance of adult education. And Debbie, you and I have been friends, and we go to a lot of conferences. We work together on COABE for a number of years. And, you know, I know that in your portfolio, in your mind, there's got to be these success stories that you have of people that have really you've worked with and you've just seen kind of get it, you know, like they just transform their lives because of adult education. And I'm wondering if you have a message for maybe the legislators that are out there this week. What is it that you want them to know, and what kind of stories could you share with them to kind of make that point?
Well, yes, Jeff, we are changing lives every day. And I mean, we just say that tongue in cheek, but we see it every day. We had one young man who was 18 living in his truck. He didn't have anything, and he came in one day for us to help him. And he said, I came in here looking for help and I found hope. And I now have that over the top of one of our doors because we helped him get a job. We helped him get a place to live. He got his GED. He went through welding, and now he's out. He has a place to live, and it's sustainable. Those are the kinds of things we do. I think that many times people get caught up in their own world and they forget that there are people out there that are in need. We'll see anymore from 3 to 5 in a week that are homeless. And that to me is sad in our country. And we need to be upscaling those people. We need, you know, sometimes it takes you just buy a tire for them or you buy them a pair of shoes, you know, just the little things. But we've got to have those funds to make that happen. And that's something that I would like, you know, to convey to them because it is it's a real need in our county. We don't have any housing. And so when somebody comes to us, even out of the court system, if they don't have a place to live and they don't have food and they have children, they could care less right then about a GED, honestly. Okay. So we have got to get them where they're set up on, you know, a job or a place to live and food for their children.
Debbie, I think that's one. So you make a super good point. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Was the reality that, you know, for the longest time, I think our educators kind of confine themselves to the four walls of their classroom. And within the last 10 years or so, we're beginning to realize that students don't persist or they bail out of classes because of they can't do the work. They can do the work. They can do it. You know, they can get smarter. It's because of life, like all these challenges around them, housing insecurity, food insecurity, diapers for their children, like all these things pile up. And it does take a village. It takes all these pieces to kind of fit together. And it also takes funding. And that's a big thing and big messaging that we're going to be making up on the Hill in the next few days is really that it's not free. And we have to be able to support them as they as they meet their basic needs of life, and that does
Yes.
take money. Joel, in the work that you do, you must see the same kind of thing, especially with non-English speaking learners that go through your programs. What is it that you guys do to kind of help them navigate and succeed in the programs that you have?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that we know that education, as Debbie said, education changes lives, it transforms lives. And when I hear every year, I hear students make comments such as, English is improving my life, it's making my life better. I can communicate better at work. And I've even had employers who have called and who have said, we're really thankful for this English program because we can see the change. I've encountered countless students who have come from so many different countries, brilliant, skilled, but the barrier has been the English language barrier. And so when we help them to overcome that, what we do is we take a holistic approach to our teaching and learning. We really get to know who our students are, and we really believe in meeting them where we are. In addition to that, I think we've been able to sustain over time because of this idea of community, really helping our students to identify who they are as an individual and where they are in this country, helping them to identify their voice and giving them that agency. And so when they're learning the language, they go back into their their own communities with their own lived experiences, and they feel more confident. So it's just really about meeting students where they are, building that community and helping them to realize that they can to be successful and navigate life here in the United States. And so as we talked about funding, it is critically important that we're able to push as many funds as we can into adult education and amongst English language learners and all adult learners, because there's a need for it, and we need more programs so that we can continue to train our non-native immigrant learners so that they too can be successful in the workforce.
I just love it. I love it. So I want to thank you both, but before we let you guys go, I want you to give me one piece. Like, what is it that you want the country and legislators or anyone this week in particular to know about the work that's being done to help our adult learners in our country? Debbie, kick us off. What is it? What's the takeaway here? What is it people need to know?
Oh my goodness, there's just so much going through my mind right now. I just think that we just need to serve people. That is my take. I tell my people that work for me, we are servants first and foremost for people. And I think that that's just so, whether coming into our country or they're already here, I think that that's it, that we're servants to them and to see what they need and do the best we can and have the resources available for them.
Awesome. I love it. Thanks, Deb. Joel, what
Thank
do you want people to know about the work you do and the importance of adult education in our country?
Right. And oftentimes when people aren't involved in something, they really don't know what's going on. And I think people need to know that adult education really does change lives. We are servants and we're doing the work. We're behind the scenes, we're in the trenches, and we're helping students to realize that dreams do come true. And so we want to just encourage everyone, every stakeholder, people who have heard about adult education to get involved, and just to let them know that people's lives are being changed, and it doesn't matter where a person is in life. They can become a life learner. They can get the skills that they can need. Change is possible, and it's through adult education. It's through literacy and the family where we see these things happen every day. We've done so much work. There's still so much more work to be done, but I'm just thankful this is a great moment, a transformative moment in time, and we're here to raise awareness and to continue to sound the alarm.
You guys are both amazing, and thank you so much for all that you do. I will tell you that the chat box has lit up, and people, you really struck a chord with a lot of people about, really meeting them where they are and helping support them, not just in the classroom, but outside so that they can succeed. I wish you both well on Capitol Hill today. I'm going to be up there
Thank
with
you.
you later on today. Have fun, enjoy yourselves, and make sure, you tell those stories so educators can understand the great work that you're doing. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Debbie and Joel, two amazing guests. This is what Adult Education Family Literacy Week is all about. And we're really excited that we're going to be featuring people throughout the week on this podcast. It'll run through the week. So every morning at 9 o'clock, rise and shine, wake up with Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. I want to get to our next guest because we have so much more in store for you this morning. Our next guest is Doug Keast. He's the program manager at the National Disability Institute. And there he is. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, Rise and Shine. I hope you had your coffee. I've had a few cups and we're going to, there you go. I love it. I love it. The National Disability Institute. Doug, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about the National Disability Institute and the great work you guys do?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jeff. The National Disability Institute, or NDI, is a young organization. It's about 20 years old now. It's the first national nonprofit organization to be fully focused on building the financial assets and capability of people with disabilities. The identification for the need for this focus is in recognition of what we understand about the cycle of poverty and the high representation of people with disabilities among those in poverty, and vice versa. There are many factors to address and consider. In addition to accessibility and trying to understand the disability experience that many focus on. Our agency has worked to identify solutions to dependency on supports that seem to work to create barriers to self-sufficiency, rather than encouraging them to build assets and resources from which they can use as a foundation and become independent of those supports. Our focus has been in 3 specific areas for the past 20 years. First and foremost, in policy. In our efforts to support policy that will more effectively support and encourage individuals to become less dependent on disability benefits and support and successful in building their careers and their self-sufficiency. Secondly, looking to build individual financial capacity through education and tools. So we talk about the different types of literacies. Financial literacy is incredibly important, and being more financially capable is a big focus for us. And finally, the area that I'm mostly involved with is the focus on career services and supports. Recently, we've also had a lot of success with initiatives to build supports for individuals with disabilities in operating their own businesses. A lot of our focus is in doing training and technical assistance with agencies that do the direct service with individuals across the country.
So Doug is the kind of guest that you absolutely love on your podcast because you can just give him one line and he's going to run with it all and he's going to get you all in there. NDI does some great work, and thank you for sharing that. And those are all important points. And I really appreciate you laying the groundwork because I do think that we don't. We work with a lot of different targeted populations when we talk about adult literacy, and the ones that often are at the bottom of the list of really our target are individuals that have some kind of disability that we need to work with. And it's interesting because I think that you mentioned financial literacy, but I think literacy in general is something that's so important, helping individuals kind of navigate that career journey to success. When they finding that place that's going to make them happy and that they can really jump into that career. I'm curious from your perspective, you mentioned policy, and I'm curious, we're up here on Capitol Hill this week, and we're going to be talking to legislators about policy and things that they should be on their radar screen when it comes to education. And in particular, what is it that NDI would like us to be able to share with legislators when it comes to adult literacy and what's happening nationally?
Well, a lot of the focus that we've had with regard to policy is, I'm sure you're probably aware, a lot of the disability benefits are focused on asset limits and those types of things that, in order to demonstrate the need to have those benefits, you're not able to get those benefits unless you have a limited amount of assets. Unfortunately, encouraging people to step away from those benefits and build their capacity through training, through education, but also other activities in looking at career pathways and growth in those areas it's very important to have a good financial base. One of the examples one of my professors had at the university was if you have an entry-level job and your refrigerator breaks down, and you've got to worry about the meat and the freezer and the milk and everything that's going to spoil. And so you miss that day of work and you lose your job. Being able to have some resources set aside to be able to respond to those types of challenges is real important for that foundation in pursuing a career. That's just one example, but looking at those limitations, but also looking at ways that can support a pathway away from those benefits and support agencies, support all of the support agencies in helping people move along that pathway is very important.
Can you talk to us a little about the career pathway piece too? Because I know that's your specialty, that's kind of your wheelhouse, but how important is education in that career pathway that you're hoping to transition people into?
Well, everything that adult basic education is involved with is critical to people with disabilities, just as it is with everybody. Having less than a high school education puts you at a disadvantage in your career. Having the supports to follow education in areas that are going to help push you into or support your entry into career pathways is very important. I think for adult educators, sometimes when you're presented with a student that has challenges, having the ability to get support from other professionals with the expertise in supporting those individuals is important. A lot of schools are doing a really nice job with their disability resource centers, but also the expertise that's in the vocational rehabilitation agencies and other support systems is nice to be able to tap into to support educators and including those folks in their services. We focus a lot with the workforce agencies and the folks that are doing the apprenticeship and working with businesses to support the pathways that way too, but partnerships with adult education is critical as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I get most upset about in a lot of the work that we do, and my work particularly with marginalized populations, individuals that are often traveling through the criminal justice or criminal legal systems. And one of the things is the undiagnosis of people that have a learning disability and helping them, number one, recognize it so that it can be identified, and then working with them to kind of get over that disability. So and accommodate them so that they can find that career pathway, and they can find that success that they're looking for. It's really hard, and I wonder, if we're here at Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, we're really talking about adult education, and my definition is really broad. Like, I think you hit it on the head when you talked about not just about basic education, but also financial literacy, digital literacy, super important. All these pieces that come into play, and this career preparedness piece as well that you mentioned. NDI, the work that they do, can you explain to us a little bit, like, nationally, what's the scope? Where are you? How can people get support from NDI if they need it?
A lot of our work focuses with the agencies that serve people with disabilities. So we work with a number of state agencies on the disability, on the financial capability. A lot of our work has been in communities with collaborations. We've gone to recently Detroit and Houston, and have worked with coalitions to support making connections between financial institutions, government agencies in the community, schools, and workforce entities to look at how they can support connecting people in poverty with financial resources and tools to help them to build that connection. So where there's opportunities to look at coalition building, we've been involved in that type of work. We're also very involved with, are you familiar with the ABLE Act, the Achieving a Better Life Experience? We host the National ABLE Resource Network, and support education and awareness of using an ABLE account for people to set aside financial assets so they won't count against their requirements in keeping their disability benefits until they can progress far enough where they're comfortable letting go of those disability benefits. So that's been a big emphasis within NDI.
I love it. I love it. And it's something that often is off of most of our radar screens as educators, and, how we work with individuals that have a disability is really a niche. It's really a special kind of place where you want to help our students and learners succeed. And being able to do that sometimes means understanding their financial implications of things that they're going through and guiding them through that process where they find that career pathway to success. So just before we let you go, I'm curious, if you had a message you want the public to know. We got a lot of listeners where it's going to be aired again and again. If NDI has a message they want people to know about the National Disability Institute and working with individuals that have a disability, what is it that you want everybody to be aware of?
Well, I'll tell you, this comes from me and from the work that I primarily do. But the most important, the worst thing we can do is to, as we're meeting somebody and serving somebody, is to limit what we do with them based on our own experience and our own knowledge base, because that's where the access to expertise can be closed. Look for friends, colleagues, people with other experience. It's impossible for any one of us to know everything about disability and everything about accessibility and everything about all of the resources available to an individual. But if we're part of a network, and we connect other people's expertise to people that we're working with, that's where things can really happen on an individual by individual basis in supporting them in being successful. The vision of WIA, I was really impressed with back in 1998. I think that's still a good vision for all of us who serve individuals, is to find ways in which we can share our expertise with others and they can share theirs with ours, and as a community kind of help support people in their growth.
I love it. Doug, thank you so much. If people want to get more information about NDI, where would they go to?
You know, our website, of course, is a great place to connect with us. I don't have it. Should I,
We'll
put it
make
in
sure
the
we
chat?
put it in. We'll put it in
Okay.
there for you. No worries. But we wanted to thank you for joining us on Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. It is so important that we work with individuals that have disabilities, and you're getting a lot of thank yous and applause going on in the background here. You may not be able to see it, but really want to thank you so much for being with us today, and best of luck. We're looking forward to working with you at COABE, and we're gonna there we posted in the chat box the national your website for NDI. And again, have a great day, and hopefully we'll be seeing you soon at COABE and some of our conferences that are coming up. So thanks again, Doug.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Awesome. So we're here Flood the Hill Day, and we're moving along. We got a lot more to go today. We're only halfway through the show, and I'm really excited about the next guest because our next guest is an individual who is an author, and Abdi Iftin. How are you, my friend?
Jeff, thank you. I'm well. How are you?
Oh, it's so good to see you, and thank you for jumping on with us today. And I guess we need to start with just an introduction, so people introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, let's begin with where I am. I live in Maine. Turns out most Americans that I've met outside of Maine think Maine is in Canada, but it's not.
Sure.
I've lived here actually ever since I moved into the US, which is a little over 10 years ago now. And I am the author of a memoir that's published 6 years ago called Me American. And I'm in the process of working another one as we speak. And I don't even know what the title is yet. I'm an activist. I'm an immigrant from Somalia. I've lived in Kenya for a bit, and Boston College graduate. Yeah, I'm adventurous. I love one of the reasons I'm in Maine, just the audience is wondering, is snow. It snows a lot here, so
They're a little bit different than Somalia, I imagine, huh?
very.
Yeah, I bet. So thank you. So you wrote a book, and we're going to get into the book a little bit today and talk about your journey, because I think it's absolutely remarkable. The book's called Call Me American, and it's describing your life in Somalia before the war. There's so much to talk about the book and your journey, but I wonder if you could give us like a 30,000-foot view of your journey, where it began, and what drove you or got you to where you are today in Maine.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Jeff. Let's begin with I was born into a very pastoralist parents. My dad and my mother are very proud of, they call it between the two rivers in Somalia. Somalia is where I'm from, and so there's two rivers that flow in from Ethiopia, and so they had hundreds and hundreds of livestock, including goats and sheep and camel and you know all those type of things. And then 1977, there was both a war and a drought that wiped out most of the livestock in Somalia, and so they moved into the city. My dad is 8 foot, so he was immediately
Oh my
recruited into
gosh.
he was immediately recruited into the basketball without even having any experience of it, and he did great. He went and traveled around. This is 1980s, before I was even born. When I was born, I was born into a wealthy family. Mom had all the jewelry that she wanted. Dad had all the money and friends that he wanted, and fame as well. And then things fell apart in 1 week when the war broke out, and then the president left, and then everything fell into chaos. And so I was just 5 years old. And my memory of that is nothing but terror and horrifying images. And so, and then I think most Americans might recall there's a movie called Black Hawk Down. It happened because of the stories that I've just shared, you know, kids facing starvation and war and displacement and all of that. And so I lived through all of that. I had seen so many things shifting in Somalia, from warlord to a very Islamist sort of like ISIS caliphate situation in Somalia where I wouldn't go to a movie theater where they would check cell phones and all of that. And so it was unbearable. It forced me to leave and seek refuge in Kenya. It took me 8 months. And I realized most Americans don't know this, but to qualify to be a refugee itself takes some time. So that took 8 months. And then I got my paperwork, and I remember having that paperwork in my pocket every single day just for the safety of it in case I get caught or, someone wants to find out who I was. Kenya wouldn't provide citizenship at all, but you could maybe have refugee ID. Luckily, I applied for the visa program, the visa lottery program in the US that 15 million people globally apply to this program. And the chances of winning is 1 in 5,000. So I really got lucky to do that. And then it was another year of running around trying to get all the right documents and pass the interview and whatnot. So I came to the US through that program, and I've received my green card a week after I moved into a very rural small town called Yarmouth, Maine, where the roads don't even have sidewalks, where there's more trees and barns than houses.
Wow.
So yeah, that's been my life ever since.
Yeah, it's crazy. So in your book, you describe the struggle of really getting to a place in America where you had a sustainable wage, and ultimately, getting some education, getting your GED, and achieving and going on post-secondary. Can you tell us, I'm really intrigued by anyone that's gone through that path, but for you especially, coming to a new country. And so how important was education, and what was your educational journey like in the US?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, let me remind everybody that most refugees from where I come from didn't go to high school, right? No middle school, no kindergarten. We didn't have that opportunity. But at the same time, education seems to be the most important thing. So when I moved into the US, the first thing I considered, obviously, I have mom and sister and all my family up until now are in Somalia. So I have to work to provide them at least some cash, every month so that they can eat and whatnot. But I also wanted to get into school. And that the first thing I did was connect with friends, the community, the American community in the town I moved in, because they asked questions. So what is one thing that you really want to do? And the first thing that came to my mind is I just want to get my high school degree equivalent, right? I mean,
Good for you.
I know I'm not going to sit in a classroom. I'm not 18 or, I'm not that age anymore. I'm grown. But is there a program that gets me? Turns out the community didn't even know that until we sent out emails, and the whole thing has become an event where we ended up having happy hours, as we call it, cheese and crackers and and juice or some beer. And so people talked about, so how does a guy like this find some sort of a way? And there was an adult education system in Portland, Maine, which is 15 minutes drive. And I went there with a friend, a longtime friend of Mainer, who's lived here, and that we've met online when I was working as a guerrilla journalist back in Somalia. And so the first question we asked was, what does he need to do to get into that? And I remember Sally was the woman I met at the adult ed, and she said, "How good's your English?" I said, "Well, as good as I can understand all movies I can watch, right?" And she said, "Perfect. Let's get you through this." And so I did my high school equivalent at the adult ed, which absolutely opened up my eyes. Definitely made me feel this is incredible. It's sort of like the American dream. At least it is actually. I mean, I don't think most Americans would consider getting their high school diploma or equivalent as the American dream coming true, but that's what I called it at the time. And then so step by step, I've been with the adult ed. I actually started volunteering immediately after I, got the program to help other immigrants who also were coming in, since I had known the English. So I worked as a translator, as a fixer and whatnot. And then from there went off to associate's degree.
Yeah. So Abdi, talk us. So you didn't just stop there. So the journey to get your high school equivalency is one thing, but then continuing on is what's also amazing, because it was that next step that often adult learners, they just don't, they don't get it. Sometimes they get their high school diploma and they think that's it, but you continued on. So can you walk us through, like, you get your high school diploma and your GED, and then you move forward with your associate's degree. What prompted you to kind of take that leap?
Well, the high school diploma, or the equivalent of it, has become the key that opens the next door. And I wanted that key. There was no way I wanted to stop, with the high school diploma or equivalent. I really wanted to be part of this thriving community. I mean, one of the main reasons we immigrants come to the US is obviously to better ourselves, to get as much education as we can. And it's very true. If you look within most newly arrived immigrants, that's a goal. So it made me feel, actually, if I could describe it sort of in one word, it made me feel a person, right? I mean, coming through the Civil War, going through all the horrifying things, there was one thing that was on my mind in Kenya as well as in Somalia. It was safety, right? When I came to the US, that word, obviously, I mean, you can't say America's 100% safe, but I can admit that the next thing that really kept running around my brain was education. How do I really understand how do I make it work? I Googled, I YouTubed, I looked up all information. How do you apply for college? What does high school diploma and equivalent give you? And it gives you the key. It gives you a recognition that you have done some good work in this country. And so that made me feel I can't stop here. It's like sliding down on a downhill ski. It just feels good if you're good at it, right? You're just doing all these tricks and whatnot. So that's how it feels. It was really great until I graduated Boston College.
I love it. I love it. When did you graduate?
My degree is in international relations.
Nice. So appropriately,
Which
I would
obviously
say.
tells you
Yeah.
someday I'm hoping to go back and contribute back to Somalia. Someday.
Oh, I love it. Abdi, you're such an inspiration to us. I have two things I wanted to ask you before we let you go. One is you mentioned Sally, and I think a lot of educators may be listening to this podcast today and across the country. And I'm curious, if you had something to say to Sally, what would you say to her today?
I've already said, I sent a card a few years ago. I said, thank you. Thank you for being supportive. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for holding my hand. It was, I remember standing in that building day one, not knowing what I was getting into, not knowing what the program was. And I think we all really need some guidance at some point. And Sally has been right there at the right time. And it also motivated me to be the helper. I think if I've supported other immigrants to go through the same program. So I think helping and supporting and showing people the way is an American way, and that is one of the elements that I've adopted into this country as well.
Absolutely love it. I love it. There are many learners in our country that walk in your shoes and that have faced the same challenges and struggles that you faced in the past, navigating all of this. If you could say something to encourage them or to kind of guide them through their journey as you found this success, what is it you want other learners to know?
I want other learners to know that it feels great to get to, I mean, I have a grad degree now, but when I got my high school diploma equivalent, I felt great. It totally made me feel, you know, a human that is completely participating in the democracy, not only in this country, but globally, right? It's not about the diploma itself. It's about the experience. It's about, understanding the most important things of education. I would also like to add, if you're someone from a background as mine, or somewhere else, you probably understand. I'm the only and the first person in my entire family who's graduated college, right? That's an incredible experience. And so my sister has 5 kids as we speak, and the oldest now is 16. We have a weekly session. She's not here, she's in Somalia, but we have a weekly session where I call her on the phone and guide her through, hey, read this book. I know you might not want to go to school now because there is none, right? But read this book. Let me know if you can do this. And so I'm sort of setting the stage for her if she comes down here at some point in the future, right? To get it going.
Abdi, you're an inspiration to so many people out there, including myself. And thank you for joining us. You know, the book is called Call Me American. I encourage everyone out there to grab a copy and read Abdi's journey and his story. Thank you so much for being on with us today at Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. You are the reason that educators across the country do this kind of work. It's because we can help people find success in that pathway through not only their high school equivalency, but to move on to that journey through post-secondary into college and get that college degree. And we wish you all the best, Abdi. I'm hoping everybody out there can grab a copy, Call Me American, and we're so looking forward to following up with you in the future to see what else is going to be happening with you. But thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on Rise and Shine.
Awesome. So we have one last guest today, and I'm really super excited, but gosh, man, how do you follow that? That was just an amazing story. And Call Me American, you want to check out the book. Definitely an inspiration to so many people. Then our next guest today is Crystal Scott. I am really super excited. Crystal, we have not met before, but Crystal is the Director of Growth and Partnerships at NeighborWorks America. And how are you this morning?
I'm so great. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. So it's the first time we've met, but I have to tell you, I've kind of been looking forward to this because I had the opportunity to be in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago and got to meet Doug Sessions, who works with you as well. And I got to sit through your conference out in Pittsburgh. And I tell you, I'm still reeling from some of the great work that's being done in NeighborWorks America. And I feel horrible because I just did not know the scope of the great work you guys do. And I am now like everywhere I go. Do you know about NeighborWorks America? You got to check them out. So Crystal, can you educate us a little bit? Tell us a little about NeighborWorks America and what does you guys do?
Sure thing. Well, that's what we say to people, right? We're like, we are the best kept secret. And that's what we hope that people come away from our national training institutes, just super inspired and, the networking opportunities that exist within the National Training Institute. But, a little bit about NeighborWorks America. We are a 45-year-old organization. We have about 250 of the best community development organizations across the country in our network, our amazing network. We are congressionally chartered. We receive an appropriation from Congress. And so we have been doing amazing work for a really long time. And we feel that it is our duty to kind of train up the next generation of community development professionals. And so that is what we are doing. We provide subsidy for this training that we provide to the nation. We have network organizations that are in every state, the district, and Puerto Rico. And we take that information of best practices and lessons learned, and we transfer that knowledge to adult learners so that they can have an incredible career in community development.
Yeah, so I have to tell you that, so first of all, you just threw me a softball. So the first one is they're congressionally chartered, which is really interesting because Congress has mandated and funds the organization, the work that you guys do. But if you get granular on it, one of the things that intrigued me about Pittsburgh and is you do those kinds of conferences or convenings across the country, those trainings. And they're not like any other conference. I'm going to guarantee, and COABE is by far in education, it is the #1 conference everyone looks forward to go to every year. But this is so different because this is really intense. This is like a 3 to 5 day training intensive. And there are how many courses? I mean, I saw 50, 75 courses going on at one time. In every room, there's whiteboards everywhere, and there's things up on the walls, and people engage with books and everything else, but intensive learning happening.
Yeah,
And can you
it's
tell us?
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is
so
amazing.
we have courses. We have about 11, I think 11 certificate tracks that folks can choose from. And they range anywhere from affordable housing, which is kind of on everyone's mind in the nation, to management and leadership courses, to construction and rehab. We want for people to re-engage with the trades. And so we have a focus on that because so much of what we do depends on that industry, the construction industry, to be able to build affordable housing. And so, we had 85 courses on offer in Pittsburgh. It will be no different when we come back together in Philly in February, and then we're going to be in New Orleans in August. We have the National Training Institute twice a year. So that huge production 2 times each year to bring folks together. Probably around 1,500 to 2,000 folks from across the country coming together to, again, just celebrate success and celebrate adult education and continuing learning and upskilling and all of the things.
So I think that a few things struck me about the work that you guys do. The first thing is that when it comes to adult education and the students that adult educators work with in the country, we talked this morning about how important it is to think outside the classroom. And housing insecurity is one of the biggest issues in our country. And what I think inspired me most about the work that you do is you're really educating people that are on the ground, the counselors, the caseworkers, the people that are doing the work, and teaching them ways to do it better so that people can really succeed in whatever path they're taking, not just in education, but just life, getting their families together. And I'm curious, you had a number of different tracks. I was popping room to room to room, like I was trying to get as much information as I could, and I was so welcomed. But you also had some leadership tracks, which I also thought were incredible because it wasn't just about content. It was about learning about how to be a better leader and how to lead your group, whatever group that may be in the work that you do. I'm curious, how important is adult literacy and how blended is that in the work that NeighborWorks America is doing?
I think it's so blended, and that's why we've really enjoyed conversations with Sharon and, just talking about the overlap of the work that we do. And a lot of times we, at NeighborWorks America, we think about home ownership and the impacts of child education and the impacts of home ownership and safe and stable housing. But at the same time, there are so many stories of safe and stable housing and providing that, and then having the parents who are able to then go back and get GEDs or go back and, go into a community college, go into a university. And so safe and stable housing, we know, overlaps so much with adult literacy and education in general, not just for the children, but with the family. And so, yes, completely overlapped in so many different ways.
And I think that one of the challenges that we face in adult education isn't the classroom, it's outside the classroom, and it's finding safe and stable housing for a lot of our learners, adult learners that struggle with providing a roof over their head. And oftentimes when it becomes a balance between providing that roof for your family and education kind of takes a step back. But I think that one of the things NeighborWorks does is it really makes it the alternative really they're not mutually exclusive. You can do both. We can help you find affordable housing. We can help you grow your community and get smarter at the same time and continue those adult education
That's what's so cool that, our network of 250 organizations, but we train and provide professional learning to people outside of our network. And so they are out there in local community teaching folks how to become homeowners, teaching folks how to budget, teaching folks how to save. Financial capability is huge in the work that we do, and making people understand that they can do both and it is possible, and helping them understand the ways why, helping them understand the resources that are available. And that's what our local organizations do on the ground every single day.
So I love it. We're here this week in particular on Capitol Hill, and we're going today to Flood the Hill, where we're meeting with legislators. And I know you're congressionally mandated, so I'm going to be careful, and you can be careful as you want to. But the truth is that there are things I think that legislators need to know when we talk about adult education, and in particular, the importance of the integration of housing and in this whole dynamic of a village and making, the village work and people succeed. But if you had some guidance for those people that are going to be on the Hill this week, and a message that maybe you want legislators to hear, what would that be?
Well, I can't advocate, but yes, definitely I would have the advice of, listening to the folks that have been impacted. And I know that that's part of your plan today, is allowing for people who have had the opportunity to experience, that teacher or that person in that life that has impacted those families, and how it has affected everything. And so, one small change and one small thing can make all of the difference. And so invest in adult education, invest in housing, and make folks know that it's okay to be better, and that they can be better. And I think that that's probably the most important message, just to listen to the folks that have been impacted.
I love it. So I'm going to give you one other one, which just inspired me from Pittsburgh. And by the way, I'm looking forward to you guys coming to Philly. It's where I live. So I'm going to be going to as many of those workshops as I can. But the other thing I think is super important about the work that you do is that continuing education, that professional development piece, which I think in the adult education field is not prioritized enough. That we need to support our teachers and educators and administrators and give them every tool we possibly can in their toolbox to help our learners succeed. And that is one thing that NeighborWorks America has just mastered. You have these workshops that were just so engaging, and people were just excited to be in those rooms and the discussions. We don't, just as a country, we don't do enough professional development in some areas. And when it comes to adult education, we sometimes forget how important it is to get people up to speed, to make sure that they're continuing to grow as educators, so they can meet the needs of our populations. And I think it's amazing work you guys are doing, and cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you said something earlier about, education outside of the classroom, and we recognize that that's so important as well. And so we are actually in conversations with colleges and universities across the country to help them understand what it would mean to accept prior experience for credits, right? And so we've been working hard at trying to help people understand and make it easy for people to understand, this is what you need to do to get here, and what do you aspire to do, and this is what you need to do in order to get there. And so it's just really a neat pathway of learning that we have mapped out, and kind of, like you said, I appreciate it, mastered over the years. And I love that you loved your experience. I love that you're going to come back and experience more. And I think it's really, really neat that you have been able to do that. And we hope that everybody has that experience. I learned yesterday that we have a net promoter score of 80, which is kind of crazy. But I think it's described as world-class training. And so everyone has experienced what you have just described. And I'm just super thrilled to be able to be a part of it.
I love it. Crystal Scott, thank you so much. NeighborWorks America, just a remarkable organization, and we're glad, looking forward to your partnership with COABE in the future. And again, thanks for joining us this week. When you're on the Hill, just mention how important it is. These are all the pieces of success for our learners, and housing is a big piece of it. So thank you everybody for joining us. We're almost out of time today, but Rise and Shine podcast tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. We look forward to having you back on, and we're going to keep going the rest of the week. tomorrow we're actually going to be at University of Virginia Law School, and we'll be doing a remote podcast from there, and then we'll be hopping back in Washington on Thursday and Friday. So tune in tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Crystal and all our guests, thank you so much for joining us on the Rise and Shine podcast. I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay and take us out of here. Thanks, everybody.